So first we'll put the third speed gear on first. You can see there's a little pinhole right here, and that's what you're going to use to push this pin down when we get it all on there. So for now we're just going to slide it on. That's what you're going to use to push down to get that. So now I'm just going to push it down with a little screwdriver for now to get the third speed gear on there. There she goes. Alright. Now the pin is still in there. You can see it's right there. And I'm going to use my expensive tool here, paper clip. And I'm just going to push this down with the paper clip. Push that pin down. That'll help me put the front thrust washer on. That's what I'll do now. And then once I push it down, I'm just going to, once the thrust washer goes on, I'm just going to push it on, and then turn it one rotation, and that little pin will pop up in the groove here, and that keeps the whole cluster assembly together. Pretty slick. So here we go. Got oil on everything. Get this guy on here first. I'll go ahead and when I took it apart, I noticed that the hole here was lined up with the pin. I don't know if you need to do that or not, but I'll just go ahead and keep it that way myself. So it's going to be a little bit difficult, but we're going to push that pin down and slide on the thrust washer. Oops, missed it. Hands are all nice and oiled up. Almost. Here she's on there now. Okay, now that's slid all the way on there. And it's kind of hard. I don't know, Jared, if you can focus in. There's the pin right there, and the groove is right there. So now I'm just going to rotate it a little bit to your left, and then you'll hear it click because that pin will pop out. Once I get it rotated, boom, there she is. Now that whole assembly is locked in and good to go. That's the assembly of the front here. Now we'll go ahead and finish up. Here's your synchronizer ring. It goes on in this fashion. Here's the proper name of this guy here. 14. Coupling, sliding, third and fourth speed. That's what this guy's named. So we'll get a lot of oil in here. Oil up another synchronizer ring. Synchronizer rings in. Okay, and remember this goes on in just one fashion, and I've already forgotten which way it went, so we'll test it. So we'll put, you can see the difference. Here's this piece, there's a difference there. So we'll slide it on, and let me see if I can remember. I believe it goes on in this fashion here. But that is a good thing that it can only go on one way. So we'll slide it on. She goes there. She slid all the way home, so that's the correct way. And you can see there's just a little bit of a gap in between there. On that right there. So that's the correct way. That's it. That's the front part, and here's the front piece. Alright, so that's the front. That's the whole gear assembly on the third motion shaft. Now we'll just put on the rear part of it. Again, lots of oil. I like to go ahead and shoot some oil in the oiling hole. Who knows? Oil up your bearing. And we're going to put on the distance piece here. And we'll Put oil on this guy. Alright. Put the distance piece on. Slide him on. Very precise machining there. See what a tight fit, close tolerance is there. See the oiling hole will line up. As you're doing this, you won't be able to see that here. But as you put the distance piece on, you can see the oiling hole will line up with this oiling hole here. And that looks good. Next that goes on is your speedo gear. You get the little key. Place the key in the groove. I will put the cock down just a little bit. Okay, that's good. Put the speedo gear on. Almost done. If we can get this guy on there. Angle on that key down just a little bit. Hang on a minute, guys. There we go. Angle it down that way a little bit to help get it started. Oops. Angled it too much. There we go. There. Now she slides on. Speedo gear's on there. Oil. Oil. Next to go on is the distance piece. Again, this will only go on one way, as we have seen earlier. Slide the distance piece on. There we go. And I like to go ahead and finish it off with the spring washer and rear nut to keep it all together. And there you go. That is the third motion shaft assembly. Not too difficult. And that should do it. All right. Thank you. All right. Now what we're going to do now is show you how to put the a new bearing on the first motion shaft. What we want to do first, get some oil. Some oil on that race. All right. I'm going to try it on the table here, and hopefully we got enough to put the new bearing on. All right. Get some oil on the new bearing. Now we're just going to put the bearing on. This, try to get it seated on there as good as it can. Now we're going to take our PVC pipe. Again, my bearing, my washer. This one, I just looked up and found one that's going to be the right size for the inner race to fit on there in this fashion. And then we're just going to, when you drive this bearing on, you want to drive it on with the inner race, not the outer race. The inner race onto the shaft to drive it down on there. And so that's why we got this set up with this 2-inch pipe. So we're going to take it, set it on there, that fashion. And let's see if I can drive it on this table here. Get it set up right. There we go. You can feel it going on right there. I think I'm going to have to do this on the floor. Too much give in the table. Yep. Okay. Okay, we got it down here on the floor. Let's see, we got about a 1/2 inch to go. Let's see if we can drive it home from here. There we go. Almost there. Let's see what we got. Almost. A little bit more. if you had a hydraulic press, it would make things real nice, but this is the home garage version of that. You just gotta beat it on there. That one felt like it hit all the way. There we go. Okay, as you can see, she's driven all the way home. There's a nice sound to that one on that last one. Now let me just give another smack just to make sure. Yep, that's solid. Okay, that's how you drive on this bearing onto the first motion shaft. Okay, I'd like to show you how to put back on the washer and nut. As you can see, the main shaft here is keyed, and the washer is keyed also. So that'll go on in this fashion here onto the shaft here. And we'll just slip the nut on it. Again, the nut is reverse threads. Get this baby on there. There we go. So the nut is reverse thread, so it's going to go on to tighten. It's going to go counterclockwise to tighten. Alright. Get on there like finger tight. And from this point, we're going to put it back on the vise here and tighten that baby up a little bit more. Okay. Okay, now we're just going to got the main shaft in the vise, and now we're going to just tighten up this nut again counterclockwise to tighten it. Give her a smack or two. There we go. Okay. Okay, she slipped on me a little bit, so I tightened up the vise again. Now we got it pretty well tight, hand tight. Now we're just going to smack her a couple of times, real good. Nice and tight. And it should be good and tight now. Now we're just going to bend over the washer on just one of the flats of the nuts here. And again, just be careful. Take your time. Let me get the better driver for that. So we're just going to bend over one of the edges of the washer here. Take your time. Bend it over. Get it started. Get a little bit more started there. Get that away so y'all can see. And again, this is just going to lock that nut on there so it won't ever come loose. Just a safety precaution. I know my hand's in the way, but let me hang on. Just bear with me. Just bend this guy over. Getting there. Okay, now I'm going to get my chisel. Okay, we're just going to take the chisel now and just bend the rest of that washer over. There she goes. There she goes. That's it. Okay, just bend it on over like that just to get it on that flat. I did a little quick on this one and I'd have done a better job getting it all over the flat. But basically you get the idea. Just make sure that it bends over on all the the flat of that nut there with that washer, and that'll lock it in so that nut won't come loose. And that's basically all there is to putting on the first motion bearing. Okay, now what I'd like to show you is this. We're going to assemble the first motion shaft into the gearbox. One thing I wanted to point out before we go on, this cotter pin that you see here in the gearbox, you might think that's not supposed to be there, but actually that's MG's design to have a cotter pin in this hole, and what it does is it'll vibrate and spin, and it keeps this hole open and free in case you have oil that comes into the bell housing here. It'll be able to drain out to the bottom where this cotter pin is. So very important piece. Leave the cotter pin in there and let it do its job is what I'm trying to say. So what we're going to do is assemble the first motion shaft into the gearbox housing, and let me get set up on the ground for that. Okay, we're now ready to assemble the gear assembly. Before we install the first motion shaft, we want to install the lay gear into the gearbox. And what we'll use is a large wire. Here's electrical wire. Can't get any larger than that. Just to hold it temporarily in the lay gear in there, so we don't lose the thrust washers as we're putting in the first motion shaft and all the other pieces. So again, everything's clean, nice and clean for the assembly. Install the shaft with lots of oil and such. So again, lots of oil all throughout here. Can't have too much oil. Alright. Lots of oil. This can be tricky. Let me get the first motion shaft out of the way. Alright. So we're just going to install the lay gear into the gearbox. Oops. Thrust washer on there. Lots of oil. Get some oil on these guys here. There we go. That's the ticket. Lots of oil. Fingers get in the way. It's hard for me to see what I'm doing. There we go. Okay. Put some oil on this guy. Stuck it in. Oops. There we go. There she goes. Okay, almost got it. There she goes. Oops. Almost there. Now we'll take our wire. Slide it through there. Okay. Line up the front. There we go. said, we'll just slide it on through. She's caught. There she goes. Alright. Now you got your wire. Just bend it to get it out of the way. So we'll hold it in place. Okay, basically what the wire does is it's going to hold the lay gear in position with all the thrust washers, and also so that the lay gear sits down, so that when you put your gears, sliding your gears in, first motion shaft and all, the gears will be out of the way and they won't nick each other as they're being assembled. So we'll just put that on there. There's a view from the front. So that should do it. I'll push this down a little bit more to get it out of the way. But that's it. So next I'll show you how we're going to set this up on my wooden blocks so we can drive on the first motion shaft into the gearbox assembly. And that should be that. Okay, we're going to put on the first motion shaft. As you can see, I had to just use the one wire, single wire, and that electrical wire to hold on the lay gear into the gearbox assembly. The electrical wire that I used was too thick, so we're just going to use a single strand of electrical wire. So to get this going, we're going to drive in the first motion shaft. Again, oil in here where the bearing is going to be going in, and then oil on the bearing itself. Lots of oil. Get going real good. And again, this is a very close tolerances. Pull the lay gear out of the way. Put this guy on there. Like such. So everything's up and out of the way. Looks good. Okay, everything's going to be nice and tight in there. So now what we want to do is use our tube here with this piece. That's the exact outside diameter of the outer race of that first motion shaft bearing. And that's what we want to drive home into the gearbox assembly here. So what you want to try to do is make sure you drive it nice and straight so that you don't get that first bearing going in crooked. So let me get down here. So you may just want to tap it a few times first. See if you get it started correctly. Okay. Okay, yep. Lay gears out of the way. Nice and free. Feels like we're getting going in first, straight. And again, just take your time. If it starts going in crooked, just take your I've got my little bent over screwdriver and just take it on the outer race like we took it out and just pop it up. So let's just see if we can drive it a little bit further. There we go. That's going in there nice and straight. And so that's all there is. Just drive this baby on home and drive it so that this snap ring is flush with the gearbox case here. It fits inside there. And that's basically all there is to driving in the first motion shaft. Take your time. Okay, we've got the first motion shaft fully seated in its location. If you start to drive in the bearing and it starts to get a little bit cocked to one side, what I do is just gently take a bar and just tap on the outer race, just like you're putting on any seal or bearing. Just tap on it to straighten it back up. If it doesn't come straight, then just again, like I said, just pry it open and pry it off and start over. But you might need a little persuasion with a bar and a hammer, just so you don't, just tap on it so you don't mar up your bearing here, and just to get it nice and straight, and then drive it home the rest of the way. And as you can see,